Hey everyone, this is Eric Bond, the founder of Beat the GMAT, and welcome to today's exit interview where we're going to be speaking with Hari. Hari is a fellow Beat the GMAT member and a recent graduate of IESE, which is a top global business school. And Hari has agreed to come back to our community to discuss his experiences being an MBA student at IESE in hindsight, and also talk about how that IESE experience has transformed his career into doing what he wants to do as his next step. So Hari, welcome back to Beat the GMAT, and thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us today.
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be here at Beat the GMAT, even before the MBA. I learned a lot, so I think it's only fair to come back and share my experience. Maybe somebody will be maybe it'll be useful to somebody.
No, absolutely, and appreciate this.
Happy to be
it's
here.
Very generous of you to give your time for us today. Just a reminder to folks out there, Hari was actually very, very active in our community, and at one point a moderator at Beat the GMAT. His username is HK, so you may see a lot of great advice under that username posted by Hari in the past. So Hari, why don't we begin by just getting to know you a little bit more? Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yes. By birth I'm Indian, so I did my engineering. I did my bachelor's in India, and then I moved to the US. I did my master's again in electrical engineering, and that was probably 6-7 years back. After I graduated, I worked in several different technology companies, ranging from small startups to my latest job before my MBA, which was at a large telecom operator in their R&D division. So I'm a complete technology guy. All my experiences, my education has been in technology. So I wanted to get some exposure in the business world through an academic route. So I decided to do an MBA, and fortunately I could do that at IESE.
Yeah, I mean, so it's interesting because you already had a very global background. You're originally from India, had exposure to Asia, had experience in the United States through your academics and some work. What attracted you to Europe, and specifically what attracted you to IESE when you're thinking about which business schools to apply to?
Right. So precisely as you said, I had some exposure to the Asian work atmosphere. I had also worked a bit in Asia, in India specifically. Then I moved to the US. I studied there, I worked there, so I got exposure to the American society, to the American work culture. The only thing that I was lacking, to say in a global sphere in my profile, was the European experience. So as a first step towards deciding on which business school to apply to, I decided where I want to be, and I thought it would be a right time to take that challenge, to move to a new place, experience that place, meet new people from a different part of the world. And looking on that, I shortlisted a few schools in Europe, applied to them, and as I said, fortunately, I got admits from a few of them, and I thought that IESE best fit my needs and my requirements of what I expected from an MBA. And that's the reason why I picked IESE and I studied there.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit more. So you mentioned some of your needs. When you're an applicant, like what specifically, beyond I guess the location and maybe some of the brand, what were some of the other criteria you were looking at in your schools?
Okay, so to be really honest, I'm kind of guy who, when I sit in a classroom and when there is just one-way communication between the professor and the students, that's to say that just the professor is coming and giving you a lecture, I sort of tend to fall asleep. So I cannot. I'm not a kind of a guy who sits in a lecture, listens through PowerPoint presentations, and learn. My learning mostly happened and still is happening through conversations, through engagement, so that where I can ask questions, where I can participate, where I can also provide some sort of contribution to other people's learning, and that's how I also learn from them. When I saw that, when I was also researching on business schools, I found that ESA had a case study based teaching methodology, which was started by the Harvard Business School. I was intrigued by that. I wanted to take, to get a taste of how that is. So I sat in a classroom at ESA. I actually did twice. They actually came to New York and they arranged for a sample case study class.
Oh, interesting.
So I participated in one of them, and I just found that way of learning was more dynamic, was more engaging, and it fit to how I learned better. So one of the major reasons for me picking ESA was its case study methodology of teaching. The other thing that I also wanted from an MBA was my experience overall in terms of how enriched is the learning process. And I strongly believe even in a work atmosphere, you learn from your projects, of course, but you learn a lot from your colleagues. So I wanted to have a class which was diverse, not only geographically, but also in terms of what work they had done and which part of the globe they had worked in beyond their nationalities. So I found that ESA had a very, very international class. I mean, compared to the US schools, that number is just very high in ESA. So I think around the class size was 280 when I joined, and we had people from around, I think, 55 countries.
Yeah.
So I was in a team of 8, and we had among eight of us, we represented 6 countries. So the sheer experience of learning from your peers, from getting those perspectives, was really high at ESA. And I experienced that before MBA by talking to students. So I spoke to a lot of students and asked them what prompted you to come here to go to ESA, and what are the benefits of that? Why do I need an international class? What more can they offer than a class of my, people of my nationality, for example? So all these factors put in, I think, fit what I expected from an MBA. And there are several other factors which are very common to a basic B school selection, which is the quality of academics, the quality of professors, which can be easily obtained. You know how good they are by talking to your friends, by talking to actually talking to the professors themselves, if they are approachable for that matter.
Right.
And current students as well. So I used all that. I spoke to professors before joining. I spoke to current students, and I was sure that okay, I'll get my money and efforts worth in terms of academics. But what I really wanted was also to have a rounded experience, and I think I was happy to select that, and I got that.
Yeah, I want to sort of deep dive on one tip that you had mentioned a few times in your response, which is talking to folks before you applied, which I think is incredibly important.
Absolutely.
And, Hari, you may be aware of this, but in our community, one of the key problems I see with a lot of members is it's very difficult for them to network their way into speaking with current students or professors before they apply, and a lot of good reasons for that. Namely, maybe I'm applying from India or from Korea or from Europe even, and it's hard for me to find this professor in this other country. How did you network your way into speaking with current students and professors before you applied?
Okay. Nowadays, most schools have set up this sort of a forum of ambassadors.
Yeah.
And these ambassadors are mostly current students. So ESA has such a forum. I'm pretty sure that many of the top schools have these forums. I'm aware of them because I spoke to many people from these forums. So the best way to approach is to write to the school, write an email, and see if you can get in touch with this forum where you'll have a more open conversation. Or if they don't have such a facility, you can write to the school and requesting them to connect you with a current student, and they'll be more than happy to do that.
Yeah.
One thing to note is that they also need students. As much as you need a school, they need students as well.
Yeah.
And hence, they'll be more than happy to actually, let you talk to a current student, which is which can open up so much more information than just browsing through websites and
Absolutely. Yeah, that's where you get like so much of the color and like the nuance of the school and the student body.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's a very effective and simple tip. Just ask the school, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And actually, nowadays, many schools provide open access to their professors as well.
Yeah.
I can talk about IESE because what happens is you can go to an academic department and you can find a list of professors with their email addresses. And what I found is when I emailed a few of them, they were very quick to respond. And these professors really value that. I mean, the only thing you got to do is ask the question, and they are more than happy to answer.
Right.
So it's just as simple as that. There's no rocket science to that.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people overthink this one. Simple email to the admissions team or just to students if they're available will work. Hari, I'm really curious, just narrowing down on location. So you provided a lot of great insights in terms of many criteria that you looked at as you applied to business school, but I want to learn about Spain specifically. So why Spain and not England or France? What specifically about Spain attracts you?
Well, to be honest, before I came to Spain, I wasn't I wasn't looking for a school based on the location at all.
Oh, okay.
So had IESE been in France, I would have gone to France. Had IESE been in Netherlands, I would have been in Netherlands. But then when I came to Spain, I fell in love with Spain. There are many things to like about it. The weather is phenomenal. It's summer in Barcelona now, and you just can't sit home. You have the mountains and the beach, so Barcelona is a fantastic place. There are many other business schools in Spain, top business schools, which are in Barcelona and in Madrid. So I would say that the whole Spanish culture attracted me towards their lives. The whole lifestyle of it. People are really friendly. The only thing is, obviously, you need to speak a little Spanish. And most of these business schools offer courses, language courses, for example, where you can learn the language. The biggest, the most important thing here is the people. So I believe that a country is only as good as its people.
Yeah.
So Spanish people in general are very friendly, very receptive, very welcoming, and very hospitable. So or even if you make a small attempt to speak Spanish, my Spanish is horrible, but I managed with that for 2 years because people were welcoming. Even if you make that attempt, people enjoy it. They like if you speak their language, that you're curious about their culture. And there's a lot of cultural aspects that you can fall in love with. For example, I don't know how many of you know, there's a great architect called Antonio Gaudi, has made spectacular artifacts here in Barcelona and all throughout Spain. So I'm a person who likes architecture and museums and things like that. So I really enjoyed my stay in Spain.
Oh yeah.
But coming to your point, it was not the place that really brought me here. It was the school that brought me here.
Yeah.
But then I'm fortunate that it's a beautiful place too, so that I could enjoy my experience even from a country level.
Of course, yeah. My wife and I spent our honeymoon in Spain. I can attest to that. It is, even just as a place to visit, incredibly beautiful. And Gaudi, Sagrada Familia, and all the buildings they created, just unbelievable. So I mean. I have to ask you this question. So what's it like living in Spain these days? You kind of exited business school at a very, very sensitive time where the economy in Europe is teetering a bit. Spain, there's a lot of trouble that's being speculated in the future. What's sort of the sentiment over there these days?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Spain is beautiful, but realistically speaking, everybody needs a job after an MBA, right? And yes, Europe is in a very sensitive space right now, if you will. Spain especially is doing bad as an economy right now. For example, the top four banks in Spain hold assets which are more than the GDP of Spain. So just imagine if the banks fail, the whole country would be in deep trouble, and recovering that failure would cost a lot, not only for Spain but also for Europe as a whole.
That's
the
right.
European Union.
Yeah.
And those are the speculations which keep the sovereign bond price high. And so what that results for MBA graduates is recruiters or employers taking less risk in employing people, which translates into less number of jobs, open jobs that you can find. And that is the truth with Spain.
Right.
Another thing is the high unemployment rate in Spain, especially for the youth, which is nearing 40% right now, is again a bad sign for the employers, because having such an abundance of skilled labor force in Spain would mean that they can actually get away with paying less than what an MBA actually would aspire to get as compensation.
Right.
So low pay packages, less number of jobs, and a bad sort of a bad forecast on the economy makes Spain a difficult, not only Spain but primarily Spain and the Europe, a difficult place to find a job. Having said that, when you talk about top business schools, their connections with the industries, their connection with the industries, with recruiters, with employers are so strong that you're not limited to the country in terms of applying for jobs. So, for example, in IESE, I would go on to say that I don't know. I don't recall the last year's employment statistics, but I think this year around 65 to 70% of the people actually are employed outside of Spain, and the school does a pretty good job of making sure that employees out there know that there's a school like IESE,
right,
and there are these qualified students from IESE. So that's the whole scenario that is going through, as you near the end of your MBA education. And again, when I say 65 to 70% work outside Spain, that means around 30% of the students are employed in Spain, which again goes to prove that it's not a closed, you're not hitting a wall right there.
Right.
You still have options, but you just have to set your expectations in a realistic manner. And I don't think getting a job would be a problem. I think it's how much you can push yourself to get the job that you actually want. I think that's where the challenge lies in. If you just need a job to pay off your debts, then I think you will get a job. I don't think there's any reason why you don't get a job even after studying in a top school. So
that's right. Well, and I really want to come back to this in a moment, because I'm pretty excited to hear about your next step, because you did successfully get through the recruiting process. But let me hold that question for a moment, because I want to learn a little bit more about life as a student at IESE. So generally, would love to learn about your impressions as being a student there, and specifically hearing more about what happens in your first year versus your second year. So how did let's sort of dive into that a bit. So what were the things that sort of impressed you or that you experienced in your first year versus your second year?
Okay. I can tell you from my experience, because this again changes for a lot of people. I, coming from a technology background, I didn't know anything about finance. I didn't know anything about marketing. Accounting was Chinese to me, or Korean to me. So I think the first term was a bit tough on me. Uh, I had so much to learn in so little time because in IESE, the first year I split into three terms, and each term is around 3 to 4 months. So the first 3 months was was tough because we had around 6, 7 courses, and most of the courses were your foundational course. So only if you set the foundation right, you'll be able to make use of your further education in your MBA, right?
Right.
So, for example, financial accounting, I had to sit in a class where there were CFAs, there were chartered accountants, there were people from top accounting firms, and I had to sit with them and learn accounting 101. Needless to say, they were pretty bored with the classes, and I was overwhelmed with the classes.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of every business school. That's that's how you learn, sitting with people, and I'm glad that I sat with those people, so that I could learn from them as well, not only from the professor but also from my fellow students. And the reason I was able to, you know, complete all my credits, all my courses in the first year was because of the enormous support that I received from my friends. So our classes last for 1.5 hours, and you can't expect a student to learn everything that there is to learn in 1.5 hours, right? Each day. So you sit with your friends, you discuss your coursework, and I'm happy that there are a bunch of nice guys, you know, sitting there and trying to explain to you what credit and debit is when they are, you know, doing their third level of CFA. And but I like their patience. I like the way that they teach. Academically, the professors are also really good in a way that they're very friendly. They're very open. So I could just walk into a professor's room and just ask him a question or two, and he'd be more than happy to, you know, spend an hour with me and explain to me what this is actually. They understand that people from different backgrounds come there. I mean, we had people who were writers, who were journalists, and had little idea on what you know, the financial market means to them. So that was good. But overall, I would say that the first year is, I don't know if I should say this, but IESE is notorious for their workload in the first year. That's a fact. You got to be prepared for that. So if you don't know about that, that's something you'll learn about IESE. That
Yeah.
it's
gotta come to work.
notorious. It is notorious for the workload. But then there's a reason that they designed the course in this fashion. They make the first year very tough, and they make the second year more relaxed. The reason is that I mean, think about it this way: if you join a company, you will have, life is not fair, so you will have a lot of work and very little time to do it. So what the business school also teaches you is how to manage your time then.
Right.
So we had 4 cases every day that we had to prepare, and each case is around 25-30 pages of reading.
Wow.
And then analysis. So each day we come home at like 8 o'clock, and then you sit up to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock to read all these cases and do your preparation, and then go back at 8:15. So it was tough. It was tough. But I'm glad I did that because that, one, gave me the foundation to proceed to my later advanced courses. And 2, because it made me a better time manager. So I was able to manage my time well. They want to make you prioritize your work. So you prioritize where you want to invest more time, how to invest more time, or how to save time on certain courses. So that's what the business school teaches you in the first year. And in the second year, we move on to electives. So the entire of second year are the courses that you pick. And maybe that's also the reason why you find it easier, because those are the courses that you picked, that you wanted to learn, right? And you also have more time in the second year to focus on your career, to focus on the clubs you join, to focus on activities outside of school. So that's when you have more time to network, to catch up with an old friend, or talk to an alumni, read, for example. So you have a lot more time in the second year, but we never felt that we're just wasting time, because we had this huge graph of learning that we already had, and academically we were strong because of the intense first year that we had at DSA.
Right, right. So talking about the clubs and extracurriculars, so I imagine that's you mentioned that there's perhaps a little bit more time in the second year to focus on those activities, but I imagine you were also involved in the first year.
Yes.
So let me ask you this: how many clubs were you involved in while you're at DSA?
So I was. So we divide them into professional, social, and sports clubs.
Okay.
In the first year, professionally, I was involved in the consulting club, the technology club, the TMT club, as we say it. And in the social clubs, I was in the Doing Good, Doing Well, or Responsible Business club. IESE hosts an event called the Doing Good, Doing Well conference, which is largest responsible business conference, student-held conference in the world. And we host that every year in the month of February. So I was part of the Doing Good, Doing Well conference since the first year. In the sports club, I was part of the cricket club, the badminton club. I also captained the cricket team in second year. So like I said, I mean, time management is the key learning point here. I mean, if you manage your time well, you would definitely have enough time on your hands to actually get yourselves at least involved a little, even in the first year.
Gotcha.
Having said that, I mean, you cannot run the whole Doing Good, Doing Well conference by yourself in the first year. It's a lot of work. But obviously in the second year, you'll have a lot more time to involve in all these activities. So yeah, obviously you have more time in the second year.
I've been dying to ask this next question, Hari, because you and I, we're brothers with wives, got our wedding rings on here. Yeah, exactly, right? And so we didn't, for us, we're not going alone. In a big decision like going to business school, we have to think about our significant other as well. And I know that cricket games last a long time. I know that your schoolwork from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. or 1 a.m. That's a lot. I mean, how did you manage staying married while being a student? This is actually, by the way, guys, this is the title of a forum post that Hari recently responded to. So how did you stay married while you're a full-time MBA student at IESE?
Well, I think I took the shortcut. I didn't bring it along. But actually, it's actually a question that every married person who wants to, who's aspiring to go to business school should think about. And I think the first thing to do is to talk with your spouse, with your significant other, and see. I mean, I can show you the reality. We had a lot of married couples in our MBA. We had both of the husband and the wife in the program. We had many of them too.
Yeah.
We had also spouses who came, and the husband or the wife had brought along their significant other also to Barcelona. You will, if you're coming with your spouse to an MBA program, you should realize, or you should understand clearly, that you will have to make some compromises. Either you'll have to compromise some of your time with your spouse, or you'll have to compromise some of your time in your MBA. So you'll have to make that decision. I had a friend who brought his wife for the MBA, and they had no problem. They're still married.
Good.
But the thing is, he wasn't able to actually come to a lot of social gatherings that we had, to the trips that we made, because those trips were for MBA students. So you might have to make some compromises on that end. Um, but having said that, I don't think it genuinely becomes a problem so big that your marriage is at stake. I don't think that might happen. Um, Maybe some people put in too much of thought into this and probably overcomplicate the issues. But it's just like you're working for a company which demands a lot of work. I mean, even that happens in today's world, and people
Of
are still
course.
married.
Yeah.
So, and again, even there, you'll have to compromise. So, you might not be able to go. You don't might not be able to travel every weekend with your spouse, but I'm pretty sure you can travel once a month with your spouse.
Yeah.
That's the kind of compromise that you can do. And actually, I'm nobody to sit here and comment on that. It's the person and his significant other or her significant other who needs to sit and discuss about this openly.
Sure.
Decide. In my case, that's what we did. We decided we were both in the U.S. And we spoke about this. So what we eventually we came to a conclusion that at least one of us should work, because MBA, truth be told, is a big financial burden on everybody who goes through this process. So we decided that one person would work and provide some funding so that I can go through my course. And my wife generously decided to take up that role. So she continued working, but she moved to India as soon as I moved to Spain. She moved to India, and she was working with the same company in India. The reason she moved to India was because she wasn't alone in India. She had a family support, so at least there was some support system that she could handle, and she'd be all right.
Right.
And we met probably twice a year for a month. So I take my vacations. I go to India. I used to meet her, stay there for a month, and she also came to Spain. She wanted to see Barcelona.
Of course.
So we had there were a lot of instances when we could meet, and we were fine with that. With today's technology, I could do it every day without spending a penny. So
Right.
I think we took that decision together.
Right.
And I think every couple should take that decision going forward. But if they decide to move in together, I think you should be realistic about what you can manage, and you might be needing to make some compromises on the time spent together.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And
having said that, I need to I'll just make one more point here. IESE is a school where the partners are given extreme importance. We have something called the Partners Club at IESE, wherein all the spouses they meet in the school, and all the facilities of the school are open to the spouses as well. Sorry. So they come to the campus. They sit in school. They plan their events, and they are also they also feel that they're part of the community. So there are trips organized. There are social events organized, and all the social events that IESE as a school organizes, the partners are welcome there. So sort of the school brings in a feel of a family, where not only you as a student who's paying for the MBA comes in and participates, but also your spouses, because I think one of the biggest reasons that I sort of succeeded in my MBA, I succeeded in my expectations, was because of my wife's support, and that sort of feeling is fostered at IESE.
Right. I hope your wife gets to watch this video, because that's a really, really great shout out to her. You'll definitely get a pat back. So you mentioned that your wife made the decision to help to support your education financially. But I want to sort of learn a little bit more too about how you paid for your education, because MBA educations are very expensive. Were you able to access loans? Did you have a lot of savings beforehand? How did you pay for this education?
Okay, so IESE has a tie-up with a bank in Spain, the second largest bank in Spain, Banco Sabadell. And IESE provides guaranteed loan for all its admitted students.
Oh, great.
And the loan covers 80% of the tuition. And the rest of the 20% of the tuition forms part of your registration fee and your admittance fee that you have to pay in order to secure a seat in IESE. But the rest of the tuition is completely covered by this loan program. It's called the Global Loan Program. And the details are available on the IESE website regarding interest rates and things like that. And I availed this loan for my tuition. As for my living expenses, yeah, and that's where the support of my wife came into picture. My savings a little helped me, manage through the 2 years. But the tuition, which forms the biggest financial part of your 2 years in business school, was taken care of by this loan agreement that ESA had.
Right. Okay. That's really great. It sounded like it was pretty straightforward then, since they had this program in place. I have to imagine too, from a bank's perspective, it's pretty low risk to invest in an MBA student in terms of recuperating that money and making some interest too. So it's very good.
I believe so. I believe so.
Yeah,
I think that's the trust that the bank has on MBA students, or especially ESA students.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's a low risk option, right, for the bank.
So let's go back then and close the loop on some of the discussion that we were sort of getting towards employment. And you mentioned, obviously right now in these times it's challenging in Europe, but you were able to find a really great placement after ESA. So can you tell us a little bit more about what you're planning to do after business school? Okay.
So before I graduated, I think it was 2 weeks before I graduated, I got an offer from a management consulting company. It was a boutique company based out of Stockholm in Sweden. And the reason I'm very happy with this offer is because that was exactly what I wanted to do after MBA. I didn't want to lose the skill sets that I had, which was mostly in technology and telecom, in the telecom sectors. And I wanted to to use my MBA experience as well, the amount of learning that I had during the MBA. So this combined formed an objective that I wanted to achieve, which was get placed in a consulting role, in a business consulting role, where I can use my MBA experience, and in a function where I could sort of be in a position to advise top technology companies and telecom companies. And fortunately, the company that I got an offer from focuses on the TMT sector and provides strategy and advisory services to this sector.
So you are going to be moving then to Stockholm?
Yes, please.
Wow, that's very exciting. And did this company recruit you specifically from ESA? Like, did they come down to ESA campus to look for students, or how did you discover these guys?
No, there are many companies of the same profile which come to campus.
Okay.
But this particular company was through a ESA alumni that I got in touch with in the second year. So I was talking to a few people, a few alumni, and I was talking to them about my career objectives, what I wanted to do. So through their references, one person referred me to the other person, and the other person put me in touch with the other person.
Right.
And that's how I came in touch with one guy who was working with this company. So after a few conversations, he agreed that I was a pretty good fit for
Yeah.
the company. And he forwarded my CV, and after a few rounds of interviews, I got an offer.
That's tremendous. Well, I mean, you have a pretty good track record right now, Hari. You've been living and working in 3 continents now. You're missing Africa and South America though, so you need to add that to your list at some point.
I'm just dying to go to Africa right now.
I'm sure there's a lot of great
where the growth
management
is.
consulting help that they could use down there too. So and South America as well. So congratulations on that role.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Hari, this is my last question for you. It's I guess sort of a final comment for you, which is, knowing what you know now, as a one BTGMAT member to another, do you have any advice for folks who are just starting their applications in terms of things they should really think about, maybe things that they should ignore? What are sort of your words of wisdom that you could share to BTGMAT community members who are just beginning their admissions process?
Oh, okay. I'm pretty bad at this, but I think having gone through this, my first advice to people who still are thinking about doing an MBA, obviously the first hurdle is the GMAT. One of the things I would say is there are a lot of resources that are available right now that you can make use of, and do make use of them. Do study hard, do put in your time, and most people who are applying or writing the GMAT are still working. So if you could take like an hour or two out of your schedule and focus on your preparation, give the GMAT your best shot. Mm-hmm. But then one thing to note is GMAT is definitely not the end of the world. And time and again, I'm convinced about this fact. Mm-hmm. I personally have a very low GMAT score. I scored 640 in the GMAT, and which is considered low by a majority of applicants. It's just because that there is some sort of a myth that has been generated over the years that a good GMAT is an open door to a top business school, which I don't think personally is the case. Obviously, a good GMAT will put you in a good spot, will make you more competitive, will prove. But all that is showing is that you're very good numerically, logically, and
you're good at taking the test, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're good in a standardized test.
Yeah.
But that doesn't show anything to the admission committee members who the person who you are. So obviously, that being said, I'm not saying that don't forget about the GMAT and don't care about it, but give it your best shot. If you think that your score is low, if you think that you have the potential to increase your score, give it again. But the thing is, don't be too disappointed and don't give up just because you're not getting, you're not crossing the 700 mark. It's I don't know. It's funny because 700 forms a benchmark nowadays, right? So don't kill yourself for that. There are a lot of things that is unique to you as an applicant that many people might not have. Mm-hmm. Highlight those in your application. They want to see who the person behind the application is. That's what the school wants to see, mm-hmm. not how much you scored or how many, how much you're getting paid right now, or how much you scored in your undergrads.
Right.
Obviously, all those factors make you a good person, make your profile good academically in your standardized test. Fine, but actually, I would say that it's the person who you are that shines at the end when you get an admit. So that would be one of my, I don't know, one of my words. And the other thing is for students who have taken their GMAT, who are now looking at business schools. Think about business school is something that you're taking a decision for your entire lifetime. Your school is going to be with you for the rest of your life. your colleagues at school are going to be your friends for the rest of your life. So it's a big decision. Take your time to see which school really meets your expectations, meets your objectives, and that resource can be found by talking to people who are inside the school, talking to people who know these schools personally. One fantastic example is Eric. So I'm pretty sure that you can shoot an email to Eric and he'll be happy to help you with his knowledge. Same is the case with me. There are a lot of people who you can approach to get some insight on these schools, the experience and things like that. So make sure you utilize those resources and select business schools that really match you. If you want to work in the US, it'd be better to go to a US business school, right? So that's the kind of thought process that you need to take. And for people who already have an admit, I would say just enjoy your time, relax, and you've done it. Try to travel, spend time with family, go out for a few drinks. Because you've done it, you're getting from one phase of your life to the other. And MBA demands a lot of your time and effort.
Right.
So before you get in, relax. And if you can spend an hour a day, start reading. If you don't read regularly, that'll help you a lot. I never used to read a lot. So right now I feel that if I was a voracious reader like my wife, that would have helped me a lot. Read the newspaper, the Financial Times. It'll just help you, develop yourself as a candidate when you approach a business school. But over and above, just relax and enjoy and have fun.
Great. Well, we've been speaking with Hari, who is a fellow Beat the GMAT member, illustrious ESA graduate, and soon to become a top management consultant in Stockholm, Sweden. Hari, it was really great to reconnect with you. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us today.
Thank you very much, Eric. Anytime. I'll be here at Beat the GMAT. So any questions, I'll be more than happy to help you out.
Wonderful. Well, for folks who are watching today, Hari's username is HK, and he is active in the ESA, Ask an ESA Student and ESA discussion threads that I've seen. So really appreciate your sticking around and providing words of wisdom in the future to the next generation of Beat the GMAT members. So congrats again, and best of luck to you in Stockholm, Sweden.
Thank you very much, Eric. Thank you very much.